Hello, everyone. Welcome. Great to be with you again. How's your day going? That end of that countdown kind of caught me by surprise. I was totally just dancing along. How are we all doing today? I see Teresa is here. Great to see you. Oh, I moved those around. Let's put that back down there. Rested after a week away with your newborn grandson. I saw the photo just today on Facebook, Teresa. That's so exciting. Congratulations. And Charlotte's in the house. And Carrie, who just adjudicated a whole bunch of exams. Yeah, you said you judged them. So that's amazing. Congratulations and well done. I'm sure that was not easy. But it's really important that people who are really enthusiastic about it do it, right? Because if you were giving comments, I'm sure they were really thoughtful and helpful and not just, brushing someone off, as we sometimes get from exam comments. So that's really lovely. Congratulations, Carrie. Jennifer, that's amazing news. Ready to teach, seeing some students in person for the first time since March 2020. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. I mean, I didn't see my students for quite a chunk of time, and for most of since March 2020, to be honest. But we had various parts on in the middle of there. So I always had seen them, a few months ago, but not for very many lessons in a row. Anyway, that's going to be really exciting, Jennifer. Congrats. And Krista, excuse me, I read frazzled and then turned your name into Crystaled. So that's a good name. You should make that your nickname. Anyway, congratulations on all that you've been doing. I'm sure you're frazzled for a reason. And Corey is here. Congratulations to everyone planning recitals and stuff. Oh, Lee, your recital was yesterday. Wow, that is early. Mine is on December 5th, so I'm really looking forward to it. We're able to do small in-person groups. I'm doing just 4 families at a time. That's my plan, unless our regulations change in the meantime. But for now, that's my plan. So I hope yours went well, Lee. I'm really looking forward to mine. Amazing. And Stacey is here. Hi, Stacey. Great to see you. Okay, awesome. So today's chat is about scales, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about scales. What were they like for you in your own lessons? Did you hate them? Did you love them? Did you never practice them? Did you always practice them? What way did your teacher approach them? And is that the way that you approach them now? That's a lot of questions in one go. Answer the ones that suit you, that you're interested in answering. Speaking of questions, we have our survey at the moment at vibrantmusicteaching.com/survey. This is your completely last call. I sent out an email the other day saying last chance. I haven't quite closed it yet. I'm not sending out another email or anything. This is just your final reminder. I'm going to close it probably Wednesday morning or tomorrow morning, basically right now. So just do it right now if you haven't done it already. I'll close it when I'm about to start analysing, because I want to give people the maximum time to fill it in. But we had over 1,000 responses, really happy with that in the end, so that's wonderful, and I'm looking forward to putting all the data together and making all the graphs. Lots of work, but lots of fun for me. So yeah, fill it out if you haven't done it already, right now. Lots of fun questions in there. Many people enjoy filling it out, dare I say so. So I hope you did too. Krista, we did scales at every lesson. I didn't particularly enjoy them, but I knew they were necessary. Okay, but did you practice them? Because you said every lesson, so I'm like, did you do them at home? That is not meant to be like a judgmental thing. I never did mine at home, so just wondering if you're the same boat as me. Nice. Yeah, Lee, you did your recital in person too. This will be my first time in 2 years as well. Well, 2 years minus 1 month, because our last one before... No, it was December. 2 years minus 2 weeks. Almost 2 years on the button for us. And it's not the big regular one, but still it'll be fun. Corey hated scales, only played them the month prior to an exam, and that's it. I'm on that team, I'm afraid. Until I got to like grade 7, I think. So we go up to grade 8 here. I know some of you will have grade 10, but grade 7 is like second from the end, as it were, of the grades. And that's when I was like, oh, I really have to actually learn these. Like, there are so many, and I'm not doing well with them anymore. So, yeah, that's when I finally started practicing them sort of properly. But until then, I was in your camp, Corey, for sure. Jennifer loves scales, majors, and all minors, various rhythms, to a goal speeds. I do them the same with my students. Yeah, so obviously that worked for you. I wonder, does it work for your students consistently, or do you find some of them jive with it the way you did and some totally don't? Stacey, your teacher rarely made you do scales. Could have used a lot more work on them. That's really interesting. Oh, nice. Okay, guys, so we're gonna kick off the show and do our various warm-ups and bits, but keep the scale chat coming, keep the discussion rolling, and let's dive into the show. Hello there, and welcome to another Vibrant Music Teacher Chat. This is the weekly show on YouTube for anyone who teaches music. We discuss the latest news and goings on, we chat with each other, and we focus on a special topic each week so that we can learn new things and keep ourselves excited about teaching. Today's topic is about scale motivation. How do we motivate students to want to do scales, to enjoy them, to find them relevant? That's what we're going to be discussing today is our special topic. Before we get there, we're going to do a warm-up, but before we get to that, I think we should meet each other. Just in case you haven't met me before, I'm Nicola Canton and I am the creator of Vibrant Music Teaching. And I don't mind putting myself out there on YouTube like this and doing lots of silly things if it means that you feel more centered and more grounded for your week ahead. So that's what we're about to do. We're going to dive into our warm-up. Okay, flamingos, let's do this. So we're going to take some deep breaths, center ourselves, and get ready for a week ahead. Today, I want you to raise both hands up and take a breath in and bring your hands towards your heart. 1, 2, 3, and then out. 1, 2, 3. Now for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now bring your hands together at your heart. Close your eyes just for a second. And think about if you feel any different now versus before those deep breaths. Did it make a difference for you? If it did, try doing this with your students, because if it makes you feel that little bit more calm, that little bit more connected to your body or to the space around you, or it helps you put your to-do list aside a little bit better, it's going to help your students with that too, which is going to help them perform better at the piano and associate it with a feeling of calm. Okay, so give it a go and let me know what impact it made for you. While we dive in to our next warm-up. So now we're going to look at singing. My voice is still a little bit off, so we're going to give this a go. We'll see how it goes. We are working on solfa through singing. So all I want you to do is follow my hand signs and sing with me. I suggest that you do the hand signs as well. It's a really good way to get used to the beginnings of solfa and the Kerwin hand signs if you've never sung before. And if you are a pro singer and you're listening to my warbling and going, then just use it as your vocal warm-up time, okay? It's just about warming up your voice on a Monday morning or Monday afternoon or whenever you're watching this. Okay, so we're going to start with so, me, so, me. Now you alone. Mi, re, do. I hope you're starting to get used to these hand signs. We've been doing this for a few weeks. Just do a little bit at a time. If you're inspired by this and you want to go further with it, you can absolutely do this. It's just practice. And even if you're a bit croaky one day and maybe a little bit off pitch sometimes, like I am right now with my recovering voice, that doesn't matter. You're still getting into the sense of it, getting used to the different syllables and the hand signs and everything else. So now let's warm up our rhythmic brains with Rhythm Railroad. So Rhythm Railroad, we're going to do 2 today. We've been doing 1 per week and I think we can handle 2. Okay? So this is level 2 of our Rhythm Railroad series. If you haven't seen it before, the way it works is that there's different symbols for different gestures that you need to do in these rhythm patterns here that you're seeing. And there's a backing track so that you have to stay on time and keep going at the same tempo the whole time. So let's go through the symbols first. We've got head, we've got heart, so head is touch your head, heart is touch your heart. And then we've got 2 hands, this would be patch 2 hands on your knees or your legs or a table. Mine are going to go here just so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Okay, so we'll do it together with the airplane. Are we ready? How did you find that? Super fun, right? We're going to do 1 more. This time we have 1 new symbol. This is a shoulders, right? So the orange one is touch your shoulders. This one is in 3/4, which means there's going to be 2 bars or 2 measures of count-in. So it'll go 1, 2, 3, ready, set, go is what I say along with it when my students are doing these. Okay, here we go. You ready? If you didn't do the last one with me, do this one. It's only you sitting at home, maybe with your cat to laugh at you. I'm on YouTube. You've got no excuse. Here we go. 2, 3. All right, so I hope I'm a good example for you there in being willing to get things wrong sometimes, because I messed one of those up there. What happened was I was reading one of your comments, to be honest. Lee said, I can handle that speed, and I was laughing at that in my head, and I forgot to concentrate, and in the side of my eye, I thought those were crotchets, so I was going slower, and then I realized the tambourine was way ahead of me. So even in level 2, I can make mistakes, and so can you. But that's okay. The students will laugh at us, and it's all in good fun. And it makes them enjoy it even more. Honestly, when I make mistakes, it's always funny to them. And yes, Carrie, exactly. And when I make a mistake and they still stay on time, or they look at me through the side of their eye like, what happened? But they keep going, that's super impressive. What a challenge for them, right? Okay. Nice. So glad you loved it. Yes, so much fun. All right, news. What's going on with you? Tell me your news and I'll tell you mine. I've been mostly knee-deep in a surprise project for most of the last week, or at least the end of last week, beginning of this one. So my surprise project is we were about to do a tiny update to the scale challenges. Many of you will be familiar with the scale challenges. Our content manager, Sarah, was going to be updating the article on the blog. We do that so that everything stays relevant. Periodically, we go through and update everything. And so we were doing that, and she asked me to do this little update on the PDF. And I nearly did it. And then I was like, you know what? No, I have to do a way bigger update than this. I'm not happy. So we're doing a whole new version of the scale challenges. That's my announcement. As well as doing something that I've been meaning to do for a while, which is to update the whole challenge board system. Now, those of you using the challenge board already, don't listen to this and go, no, don't change it. Oh, you're going to mess it up. Don't worry. You can still use it the other way. I'm not going to do anything that's going to make you feel like you need the new version. However, for people who haven't discovered it yet, and there are many people adding it all the time, the challenge board and the stickers and everything, I wanted to update it to be more cohesive so that we can slowly transition over as people use the new one or new people join it. Because, and I will show you this when it comes up, but just to give you a brief background, the challenge board started as like just the scale challenges, and then there were a few more, and that's when I made the first poster. And so it was never meant to be as big of a thing as it was, and it's grown and grown and grown, and I've slowly regretted the titles. That's my honest truth. So it was Scale Apprentice, Scale Scholar, Scale Ninja, Scale Superstar, and then Scale Master. And there's a few problems with those titles. As I said, it was initially just supposed to be that one system. But number one problem is people, so maybe some people who are here right now, get confused between Superstar and Master. They think that Master sounds lesser than Superstar. Now, I still think Master sounds like the best one, but I get the point. It's always been a little bit like, oh, which one's the top one? So that gives people pause. The other issue with those is they're not in alphabetical order. And I don't mean, like, the titles don't fall in alphabetical order, and I've always wished that they did, because it just makes organizing files that much easier. So that's what I'm doing, and as well as that, I'm revamping a lot of the artwork. So I've been working on them, and I'm looking forward to releasing them. The other project I've been at, more of a off-screen project, is cutting out snowflakes. Anyone else love paper snowflakes? My recital is going to be on December 5th, and I've called it the Snowflake Showcase. My gosh, I can't speak today. Snowflake Showcase. And so I want a lot of snowflakes in the living room for our little recitals here, our little groups that we're doing. So I was cutting out loads of snowflakes, giant ones and little ones yesterday, which is fun to me. Maybe not to everyone, but that was a really fun project. And then we released, as usual, lots of great content. We had a podcast about when students should start scales. So very different to today's topic, but still on our monthly theme of scales. And we had several updates and YouTube videos as well as our issue of Bright Notes. So that just came out today. Bright Notes, for those of you not familiar, is our monthly member magazine. It is only for Vibrant Music Teaching members, and it brings together all of the blog content into a beautiful, downloadable, printable, if you want to, PDF magazine, so that you can read it all concentrated on scales in one volume altogether. So that went out today with lots of different aspects of scales and how we teach them covered. So you're definitely going to want to check that out if you're a member. And my last piece of news is about next week, because next week we have member huddles coming up. If you haven't already got these in your diary, make sure to go to the member dashboard. So if you're logged into VMT and you just click on your dashboard, it's the top left, you'll see it in the menu. Then maybe you can come along next week. It's on next Tuesday. I have 2 sessions, so different times. But if you look on the dashboard, you'll see them in your time zone. So that's really handy and a really great way to find out when they are for you. Yeah, I hear you, Lee. December is totally crazy over here too. I only do the Christmas recital every 2 years, kind of for this reason, because I prefer to sometimes move it to January so that we get different experiences of concerts, and so that every 2 years we have this, fun event that happens in January when nothing else is going on. So I really enjoy that. But then we sometimes do the Christmas one because the students do love that aspect of it too. So I get the argument for doing it in November as well. Oh no, Corey! I have been through more renovations than most people, myself, so I totally feel your pain. Luckily, during our last bathroom renovations, when we only had one as well, my brother lives close by and we were able to go there. So that's always interesting. Super fun. Oh, and Stacey, you're ramping up for a first in-person recital in 2 years. Awesome. As well. And changing the assignment sheet system. I hope you love the new system. Nice. Okay, so that's my news. Let's dive in and talk some more about scales. All right, so if we're going to motivate our students to practice scales, here's what I think. I think we need 3 essential things. We need the scales to feel relevant to the student, fun, and satisfying. So let's just talk about those generally. And if you think we need some other ingredient, you can let me know. What I mean by relevant is students actually have to understand what scales have to do with anything. There was a comment earlier about I knew that I should do them, or I knew that we were supposed to do them in the lessons, right? And many students feel like that, but they don't really have a reason behind that. They don't know why. And while you could just explain it to them, that doesn't really have any impact. Because it just goes over their head. So they need to experience the relevance of scales. Number 2 is the fun. So they have to actually feel enjoyable to practice. Otherwise, we won't do them. Even if you are convinced that something is really good for you and really relevant to you, you're not going to do it if it is just so boring to practice. I mean, think about why we practice pieces, or your students that do practice their pieces. Why do they do those and not do the scales? They do them because they can see the relevance of the piece, because they actually want to play it. And they do it because they enjoy practicing the piece on some level, right? They might not enjoy every minute of it, but they have strategies to make it quite enjoyable for them. So, the third element then is satisfaction, and the scales feeling satisfying. And this might sound similar to fun, but I do think it's different. The scales have to feel like they get somewhere. You have to feel the satisfaction of accomplishing something, getting somewhere with them. If they were just relevant to us and we understood why we should know them, and fun to practice, but we didn't feel like we made progress, I don't believe that we would practice them either. Where is... Oh no, I've lost that comment. But there was a comment earlier about playing scales out about different in different rhythms and challenging yourself to get faster and faster, right? So that speaks to that, because it's about that accomplishment, feeling like you're getting somewhere because you get faster or you're able to play them successfully in that rhythm. So it's not just fun and it's not just relevant. It actually feels satisfying because you go somewhere with it. So how do we achieve these things? How do we make them relevant, first of all? Well, as I hinted, I believe we need to do this through experience, right? So for me, that means my students improvise based on scales. That's my number one thing. If you take one thing away from this and you're not currently improvising with scales as a way to introduce scales, as a way to reinforce them, as a way to explore them, that is the thing to take away, okay? Improvise with them. Experience them as a way to make music, because that's what they are. They are how the other music that they're playing was built. And by improvising with them, you get to understand that. Number 2 then is composing with them. If you want a resource for this, a great way to go would be the micro composition mini books. So those are the little books inside VMT, and they're just really short 4-bar exercises. And one of the levels of those, they're asked to compose in different keys. So they're getting to experience how we use this to make music. Again, experience, not we tell them that they could compose, they do it, and then we talk about it. And then we also need to relate the scales back to their pieces in all genres. Students may get the misconception, in some cases, that the scales are only helping them with classical music, which makes them feel, yes, relevant to some things they want to learn, but for many students, not super relevant to their music experience, right? So relating the scales back into all sorts of pieces is really, really important. And then, simpler tip, dynamics. Dynamics can make scales feel more relevant because they make them feel more like music. If you can make the scales come to life, even in their most basic form, if you can make them sound like music, and you can, so demonstrate this, then students will see how they're relevant because they actually are a piece of music. Just a very simple one in some cases. Alright, so that's relevance. Now how do we make them fun? This is where I think you guys can really come into this. So add in your comments about how you make scales fun. What do you do? I have 4 categories of things. We actually have an article we're publishing with 15 different ways to practice scales, but they sort of split up into 4 categories. So these are, first of all, backing tracks, games, randomization, and extra challenges. Those are 4 different ways I think we can make scales fun to practice. So backing tracks are one of my favorite things, and we're going to be releasing our own even better backing tracks next year. But for now, there's apps like Music Lock or iReal Pro, or you can use the exports that I have available for you from iReal Pro to accompany your students' scales. Or you can just vamp yourself. You could even record yourself and create a backing track that way. It doesn't actually have to be super elaborate or anything like that. Just having something in the background makes scales come to life so much more. And bonus, not only does it make them fun, it also makes your student more likely to stay steady and in time, which we want, of course. Then we have games. There are loads of games to work on scales inside the Vibrant Music Teaching Library. So all you have to do is go to the printable library and select scales as your topic. That's a simple tip. I don't need to explain that to you further. But using games helps to take students' understanding into a new context, right? So they don't just understand how to play them or speak about them or write them on the staff. They understand how to piece them together or answer questions about them, whatever the case may be in particular games. Then there's randomization. So spinners are the best for this. You can use an app like Decide Now, which is I think that's iOS only, Apple only. But there are tons of websites as well that do this totally for free, where you can put in all the different scales your student needs to know or does know, and have it spin and test them at random. The better apps and the better websites are ones where you can remove the option once it's been selected so that each scale only comes up once and you can go through the whole set. You can also use resources or ideas where you just write out scales on strips of paper and pull them out of a hat. Different ways to make things random does add an element of fun for your students. Nice. Okay. And then finally, extra challenges. These are only for particular students, but for the students where it does work, it works so much better than just regular scales. We all have those students who they will rise to a challenge, but otherwise they'll just kind of humdrum along, right? If I give certain students a challenge like a formula pattern scale, which is the one where you go, well, in its full version, up for 2 octaves, out and in, contrary motion, up for another 2 octaves, out and in, Are you all familiar with that one? It's sometimes called Russian scales. I'm going to do a video on it soon so that we can refer to that and everyone's clear on it, but I think most of you might be familiar. Any different patterns like that can be really helpful, or like playing scales a third apart, a sixth apart. If you introduce it to your student as being an extra challenge that you're not quite sure if they're ready for, but you think they might be able to handle it, some students will take that and just run with it, won't they? Do any of you have students like that? Corey, I'm so excited for the scale backing tracks too. There was another, we were going through another version of those today, so they're totally on my mind at the moment. The first set will be out in January. Really excited for that. Yeah, Decide Now is great, isn't it, Lee? It's so handy. Popsicle sticks in a jar. I've done that as well. I actually had one of my ancient blog posts, probably back from 2013, Carrie, was that. There's a photo I can see in my mind already. One of the first posts I ever wrote was doing that idea. But it totally works. You're absolutely right. That's a good challenge as well for those who are kind of speed demons. That's a great idea, Teresa. Okay, awesome. So that's loads of ideas for you already, and there are even more than this on the blog, so definitely check that out. And then finally, how do we make them satisfying? Well, to make them satisfying is to make sure that they actually stick. What we want is for students to make real progress with their scales every time they do practice them and every time they work on them in the lesson with us, so that they feel that gratification that we get from getting better. So, several ideas to make scales stick better, apart from just the fun and the relevance that we've already talked about. That's part of it, but you can go further in terms of making them stick. So one way to do this is reminder videos. If you're looking for some, I have them available for free on the YouTube channel. So check right here on our channel and you can send those links to your students. That's something I just leave up there for free for any teacher who's looking for that. There's very simple videos where I just talk through the fingering and demonstrate the scale. Very simply, but it just means that students don't have to say, oh, well, I didn't remember that one, or I wasn't sure about that fingering, so I didn't practice it. And then another way to do this is to get your students to write them out. So we have a blank scales worksheet that can help with this. If you prefer to just give your students them with them already filled in, then we have major and minor scale booklets inside Vibrant Music Teaching, which you can print out and put in your students' folder. They show the scale on the staff, but also on the piano, so that students can be really clear about the patterns and start to see the overall picture there. Other ways to make them more satisfying, in other words, to make us get better faster, is to practice in rhythms, as has already been mentioned, various different rhythm patterns, and switching it up all the time. It's all about change. Doing them with one finger, so just hopping from key to key, is a great challenge that helps your student to remember the actual notes in them much better. And then visualization is another really important tool for this. So being able to see the scale on the piano. Now, a great intermediate step for that is to get little erasers or tokens of some kind, or even pens, and have your student place them on the keys that they're going to play. So it's without playing, they have to be able to picture how the scale looks on the piano. You can also get them to speak the finger numbers. That's really useful. That tends to make them visualize at the same time, so the student will tend to go 2, 3, and you can see them like thinking through it. That's really useful as a way to do it without just playing. And speaking the note names. Basically anything that will keep the newness in the scale, will keep your student engaged because they're always having to do something new with it. That's what's going to make it satisfying, because they're going to make better progress by being challenged all the time. Okay, nice. Lots of ideas in the chat, and I hope all of those ideas have given you some new ways to go with scales. Sorry, just a little bit of a frog in my throat there. I'm going to wrap it up here once I answer this question to keep my voice for teaching this week. How often? We do them in every lesson. That's a simple question to answer. Every lesson as a run through. I hope you've all enjoyed this chat today. I certainly have. I hope it's given you some new ideas for scales. And I hope you'll join me same time, same place next week. Bye everyone.